Hello, and thank you for joining me for this class. This class is a very low impact yoga class, and I created this class because I just had foot surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like I want to do some movement. And so what we'll need today is a couple of blocks, a strap, and a blanket. And instead of a blanket, you could use a towel, or any blanket would work, not something too big. For blocks, blocks really aren't necessary. If you have some issues with flexibility, I recommend using blocks, but they are not totally necessary for the class. Again, this is a low impact class. I'm just going to do some stretching and just see what we come up with. So we're going to begin the class in a relaxed sitting position. We'll place our hands on our knees or our thighs. Take a couple of deep breaths with the eyes closed. Inhale, hold, exhale, inhale, fill the chest, feel the chest rise and full, and exhale through the mouth. With each breath, you feel the shoulders relax. The shoulders drop from the ears. With each exhale, we feel a little bit of tension release. Wherever you might be holding tension within the body, we'll take a moment to scan and get in touch with those areas that might need a little attention today. Just breathing into those areas and exhaling, feeling some of that tension release. Slowly open the eyes. And place one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. We'll feel the breathing as it enters our body, fills our chest and our belly. Feel them rise and exhale. Feel how the body feels under your hands as you inhale. How the ribs expand, the belly expands, and exhale. Feel how the muscles and bones are in this together. Not only is it the lungs, it's also the diaphragm, the rib cage, the shoulders, even the sits bones. And go ahead and place our fingers on the floor. And we're just going to do 3 fingers. So we're going to take our 2 smaller fingers, our ring finger and our pinky finger, touch that to our palm, and then our thumb and index and middle finger are going to lightly touch the floor. If we imagine these fingers rooting into the floor, we get a sense of grounding and connection. Along with wherever your sit bones connect to the floor, whatever other body parts are touching the floor, your feet or your thighs. Touch into the sense of connection. It's always there to support us, just like our breath is always there to support us as well. Go ahead and bring your right palm to the floor. We're going to stretch over to the right. Bring the left arm up overhead. Releasing the right shoulder. Bring the left palm behind your head. Breathing into the left rib cage. Releasing the right shoulder. Grounding through the left sit bone. You might imagine opening the left chest up to the ceiling. Two more breaths here. Release the left arm and use that momentum to bring yourself back up to center. Roll the shoulders out. Roll them one direction. Change directions. Bring your left palm to the floor. Slowly move the body over to the left. Opening up the right rib cage. The right arm up to the sky. Bring the right palm behind the head. Releasing the left shoulder from the left ear. Breathing into the right rib cage, grounding to the right sit bone. The right sit bone is not lifting off the floor and staying connected to the floor. Imagine opening the right side of your body to the ceiling. Come back to center. Use the right arm to bring you back to center. And roll the shoulders out. Change directions. Bring our left hand to our right knee. Right arm behind us. We twist over to the right. Again, grounding with our sit bones. Using the left hand to pull the left side of our body towards the right side of our mat. Our neck is straight. Our shoulders are relaxed. With your inhale, imagine your spine stretching. With your each exhale, release into the twist a little bit more. over the right shoulder if you like. Release, come back to center. Switch the positioning of your legs. And bring your right hand to your left knee, twisting to the left. Okay, grounding to our sit bones. Inhaling and exhaling, going a little bit deeper into the twist, using the left hand to support that twist to the left side of our mat. Come back to center. Let's bring our palm, the soles of our feet together. This is Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. And depending on your flexibility, it might be easier if your feet are further out. So find whatever is most comfortable for you. Grounding the sides of our feet into the floor. We'll cup our arms or our hands are on our toes. Imagine dropping your knees towards the floor. So this is an active stretch of the inner groin. We inhale, opening our chest between our arms. And dropping the knees to the floor. And release. Let's go ahead and grab a block. Actually grab 2 blocks. We're going to place one block in its lowest setting, and this is going to go between our shoulder blades. And the next block is going to be on the medium setting. We're going to put this behind the first block to support our head. And you want to be aware of the wall behind you. We're going to be doing arm stretches, and we don't want to be bumping into the wall. So lay back, adjusting the blocks as needed. Allow your feet to lay towards the front of the mat. Your feet are probably mat width distance apart. Allow your feet to open to the sides. Just relax. We'll take a couple of breaths into our chest, feeling our body relax on the blocks. And grab our strap. We're going to grip this a little more than shoulder width distance apart. And imagine the block between your shoulder blades is supporting your shoulders. You should feel, whenever you have this strap, you should feel that your shoulder blades or your scapula is supported by the block. You should feel very connected to the block. And inhale, going to drop the arms behind us. And exhale, Exhale, raise the strap. We're actually pulling. We're not just letting our hands or our arms be relaxed here. We're trying to pull the strap apart, but not in a very hard manner. We just have a slight tension in the strap. So inhale, release behind you. And exhale, come up. Inhale, release. Or drop your hands. Exhale, come up. We'll do that 3 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last time. Inhale. Exhale. Go ahead and release the strap. Bring your hands overhead and come into cactus arms. Again, our shoulder blade or our scapula is firmly planted into the block. Bring energy into our palms, so our palms are opening up. We're going to imagine trying to touch the floor with our fingertips. And depending on your flexibility, this might be very easy for you. Inhale, bring your arms overhead, your thumb and index finger to touch. And exhale, bring your arms to your side, elbows towards your waist. Inhale, fingers to touch. Exhale, shoulders down towards your waist, or your elbows down towards your waist. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more times. Bring your palms to the mat or to the floor. Roll over, remove the blocks. Lay back, bring your feet to the floor. I'm going to bring our right leg or our right foot on top of our left knee. Going to thread the needle so you can either grab in front of your left shin or you can grab your thigh, whatever's easier for you. Depending on your flexibility, our feet are going to be engaged. We will actively be pushing the right knee away from our face as we pull the left leg in. Your left foot to the floor. Change over. Left foot over right knee. With the right leg in, feet are engaged. The left knee is pushing away from the face. Really engaging the glutes. It's probably more glute medius than glute maximus. Release. Bring your feet to the floor and going to roll on our spine. So little back massage. And then come up and meet me in all fours for tabletop. I'm going to take a cow. Going to engage the muscles of our back. And then exhale, curve the spine, tuck the tailbone. For cat, inhale, raise the head, staying out of the neck. You don't want to crunch the neck. Imagine your arms pushing into the mat, your hands pushing into the mat, index finger and thumb. Your chest is actively pointing towards the front of your mat. There's a tilt, your tailbone. Imagine your tailbone pointing towards the back of the mat. Inhale and exhale. Engage the abs, stretching the back here. It's a counter stretch. Still pushing the mat away from the floor. We're using the mat to push our body away from the floor. Feeling the stretch in the spine, tucking the tailbone. Release, come back to center. And take a couple of active movements here. So again, our hands are connected to the floor. If you imagine the fingertips pointing towards the front of the mat. Bring your right leg behind you. So your glute is engaged. You have a slight Your abs are slightly engaged. Your tailbone is slightly tucked. Your hips are even. You're not coming up too high or too low. You're even. And your left arm in front of you. Inhale and exhale. Bring your knee and elbow to touch. Inhale up. Exhale, touch. Inhale up. Exhale, touch. Inhale up. Really engage. Come up high. Bring your left palm to the floor. Bring your right knee to the floor. Be aware of a wall behind you, so give yourself enough room. Bring your left leg back. Foot's engaged, glutes engaged. Bring your right arm forward. Elbow, knee to touch. Inhale. Exhale. Elbow, knee to touch. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, hold. Bring your right palm to the floor, your left knee to the floor. We're going to take a puppy pose. So what we're going to do, just like in tabletop, where your hips are over your knees, we're going to bring our hands forward. Again, our index finger is pointing towards the front of the mat. We're going to push back, letting our chest drop towards the floor. Your forehead may touch the floor. And feeling an opening in the chest. Your arms are engaged. There's a slight bend and our elbows they're not locked out. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, come back down. Feeling the stretch in the chest. Breathe into the chest a couple of times. Slowly bring your hands back to center. Come back up to all fours. We're going to raise our right arm up to the sky and bring the right shoulder to the floor. This might not be accessible. If you need a block here for extra support for the head, please use that. Depending on how flexible you are, you may be able to come all the way down and touch your right shoulder blade to the floor. Keeping your hips where they were. We're not moving over to the left or right. We're trying to keep our hips in a neutral position. Exhale. Inhale, bring your right arm up. And bring it back down. Inhale, bring your left arm up. Exhale, bring the left arm through. Your left shoulder blade to the floor. Take a couple of breaths here. Inhale up. Exhale. Go ahead, bringing your toes together, bring your knees wide apart, and push back to child's pose. Hands are engaged. Pushing our hips back. You might roll from side to side. Helping your lower body to relax. Slowly walk your hands in. And find yourself in a forward fold. So your knees are slightly bent. The important thing is to make sure your ribs are connected to your thighs. We're engaging our abdominals. Our abdominals are pulling our midsection toward our thighs. It's okay if your legs aren't straight. Stay out of your neck. Might shake your head yes and no. If you want, you can grasp elbows. Bring your hands to the mat, or you can bring your hands to your knee. If you want to come up, we're going to imagine our forehead going towards the front of the mat. We have a flat back. So our back muscles are engaged, our shoulders are pulled away from our ears. Our neck is in a neutral position. This is Ardha Uttanasana. Inhale and exhale, fold. Uttanasana. And next inhale, come all the way up. Bring your palms to meet overhead. And exhale, bring your palms to heart center. Let's center ourselves here. Your eyes can be open or closed. Release your hands to your side. For mountain pose, Tadasana, feel your feet engaged and connected to the floor. You might raise your toes and spread your toes. And feel the balls of your feet connected to the floor. And then drop your toes to the floor. And imagine turning on your thighs so that your toes are kind of pulling the mat apart. So your thighs are engaged. You have a slight tilt to your pelvis, posterior tilt. Your lower trapezius is engaged, allowing your chest to open. Your shoulder muscles are engaged. We have an exterior twist to our arms. So I believe that would be infraspinatus. On the next inhale, bring your palms to meet overhead. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, raise halfway. And go ahead and bring yourself to your knees. If this was a regular vinyasa class, I would bring you into a downward facing dog, but that is not accessible to me, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to bring ourselves into a low lunge. We'll bring our right foot between our hands. And this is a place where you could use blocks depending on your flexibility. But the important thing is we have our knee over our ankle. Our hips are even. We're not pushing out one way or another. Our right hip is to the 3 o'clock, our left hip is to the 9 o'clock. We're opening our chest towards the front of the mat. We have the toes of our left foot firmly into the mat. You can even untuck that back foot if you want. Next inhale, we'll come up, bring our hands to our hips. And if you want, you can bring your arms overhead. And take a slight back bend. And exhale, bring your hands back to the mat or the block. Bring your left hand to the floor or the block. Bring your right hand to your knee. We're going to twist to the right. Twisting our chest, upper torso to the right. And if you want, you can reach this right arm to the sky. Our Dustie or our line of sight. Just our index finger, just past our index finger. And if it's accessible to you, you can grab your right foot. The left foot, the outside of your left foot. Staying out of the lower back. If there's any place that feels uncomfortable, please do not stay in that position. Take care of your body. Yoga is a self-practice. It's about what you can do, not comparing yourself to what others can do. Without flinging, release your left foot. Bring your hands back to the mat or the blocks. And bring your left foot to meet your right. We're back in our forward fold. Inhale, raise halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Step the right foot back. Come down to your right knee. Again, chest is open towards the front of the mat. Bring our hands to our hips. Your left hip should still be at 9 o'clock and your right hip at 3 o'clock. Raise our arms overhead. Open the chest for a slight back bend. Bring our hands to the blocks. Go ahead and bring your left knee to meet your right knee. And we'll come back into hero's pose, Virasana. The tops of our feet are flat on the floor. And go ahead and grab your blanket or your towel. We're going to roll this up. So I have my blanket. I'm going to roll it up so it's probably about 6 inches wide. I'm going to roll this up into a tight burrito. And it's probably the hardest part of the class, emotionally. Go ahead and come down to your elbows. We're going to bring the blanket to our belly area, just under the rib cage and just above the belly button. If you had a big breakfast, this is going to be especially uncomfortable. Or if you have to use the restroom. It's going to bring the body down to rest on the blanket. We'll have our elbows underneath our shoulders. Our toes, the tops of our feet are engaged into the mat. Staying out of the lower back. This is a psoas stretch, or hip flexor stretch. Just breathe into the blanket. Breathe into your belly. If it doesn't feel funky, you're not doing it right. If you want, you can plant your hands into the floor, slightly push up, as if we were in a cobra. Continuing to breathe into the blanket. And exhale, release. Bring your forehead to your hands. Make a little pillow. A few more breaths here. Come back to center. Remove the blanket. Just release your body to the floor. Bring your forehead to your palms with a little pillow. Just bring some awareness with how our body's feeling right now. Try not to get too attached to the relief, no longer being in that situation. Just accepting that it's a little different. Let's go ahead and bring your elbows back under your shoulders. We're Sphinx. We're going to engage the tops of our feet into the floor. Our knees will lift off the floor. Our thighs are engaged. Our quadriceps. Our glutes are slightly engaged, releasing the pressure from our back. Our pelvis is pressing into the floor. The elbows are pressing into the floor. Our palms are actively pressing into the floor. Our neck is in a neutral position. We're not collapsing the shoulders. Our shoulders are pulled away from our neck. We're slightly engaged. Imagine if you're trying to pull yourself towards the front of the mat. And release. Bring your palms next to your chest. Again, engage your feet. Your knees will lift off the mat. Your pelvis is pushing into the floor. Neck is neutral. Lower traps are pulling our shoulders away from our ears. Inhale, exhale, inhale, raise up. For baby cobra, exhale. Do that 3 more times. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale up and hold. Pressing your feet into the floor, raise your hands off the floor. And breathe. And release. And press back into child's pose. It's a couple of variations for child's pose. You can have your knees closer together. You can have your hands close to your feet. Feel more of a stretch in the back. Or you can have your knees further apart. You can have your hands forward. Personally, I find this more relaxing. Go ahead and come to all fours and make our way to our back or to our seat. Center ourselves for a minute. And we're going to take a variation of pigeon. It's also called log pile. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring our shins somewhat parallel to each other towards the front of the mat. We're going to bring our right foot on top of our left thigh. We're not going to rest this on top of our knee. It's just going to be just behind our knee. And depending on your comfort level, you might want to adjust the positioning of your foot so this ankle bone is not directly over your leg. So whatever is comfortable for you. I might have to play with this for a little bit. But once you find that leg positioning, we're going to engage our thighs. Our thighs are pushing into the floor. Should really feel the thighs and gluteus medius engaged. We're going to walk our hands forward. Bring your elbows to the floor. This is another place where you can use blocks if you want, if you're not that flexible in the hamstrings. Whatever is easiest for you. And take a couple of breaths here. Stretching the erector spinae, the lats and trapezius. You walk your hands forward, deepen the stretch. Bring your hands back to center and switch legs. So your left foot should be on top of your right thigh. Again, engaging the thighs, pressing them down towards the floor. Our sits bones are connected. And exhale, bend forward. Feeling that stretch, your back muscles. And come back to center. Bring our feet mat width distance apart. Move any objects from the side of the mat. Bring your hands behind us for support. Inhale and exhale, we're going to drop our knees to the left. Our left hip engaged into the floor. Chest pointed towards the front of the mat. Inhale, exhale, come back to center. Inhale, exhale, drop your knees to the right. Your right hip is going to be connected to the floor. Your right tailbone. Inhale, come back to center. Okay, we're going to move to a supported bridge pose. So grab a block and if you have 2 blocks, you can use 2 blocks. 1 block is okay, whatever is most comfortable for you. Again, this is a seated or supported bridge pose. So come to our back. We'll position ourselves, bringing our feet hip width distance apart. And we want our feet positioned where our middle fingers will raise the back of our feet. I'm going to raise our hips. We're going to place the blocks underneath our sacrum, little bony area, the base of your spine. You can do this on a low setting. You can do it on a medium setting. Whatever is most accessible for you. You can use the blocks together, whatever position is going to be most comfortable for you. Our shoulder blades are planted into the mat. Our chest is slightly open. Breathing into our chest, feeling our rib cage expand like we were before in the beginning of class. And exhale. Engaging your feet. Lift your hip bones, remove the blocks, and lower your back slowly to the floor, one vertebrae at a time. Bringing your right thigh over your left, we're going to plant our left foot into the floor, raise your hips, move them slightly over to the right, and drop your legs over to the left. If this is a little much for you, you can uncross your legs. You can use a block under your right knee. Our right arm is going to be extended to the right. You can look up to the ceiling, or you can look towards your right fingers. We're going to breathe into the lower right side of our back and feel that release. Slowly release the legs. Bring your feet to the mat. Bring your hips back to center. Bring your left thigh over your right. With your right foot engaged into the mat, slowly lift your hips. Shift your hips to the right or the left. Shift your hips to the left. And drop your knees to the right. Again, you can place that block underneath your knee. And look over your left arm as it's extended to the left. Release the legs, come back to center. Go ahead and extend your legs out. Mat width distance apart. I'm coming into Shavasana. Corpse pose, final resting pose. Find a comfortable position. I like to, using my head, lift my shoulders up and kind of move my shoulder blades down my back. It allows my chest to open a little bit more. It also allows my neck to relax a little bit more. Your palms are facing up towards the sky. We haven't done a lot today, so our breathing isn't very erratic or hot. But let's bring our attention back to our breath. Just a normal breath, nothing dynamic about it, other than bringing life into our body. Imagine our body relaxing into the mat. The muscles, the skin and the muscles and the bones fully relaxed, letting go of any tension. Bringing awareness to any tension that might be in our forehead, or in our eyes or our cheeks. Just letting go of everything. Maybe you feel some energy within your body. Slowly bring energy back into your fingers and your toes. You might rub your thumb across your fingers. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Bring your arms overhead. The full body stretch. Deep inhale as you stretch the body. Feel the inhale from your fingers to your toes. And exhale. Pull over to one side. Rest in a fetal position. And slowly lift your body off the floor as you can come to a seated position in the front of your mat. As we return to where we were at the beginning of class, a little bit nourished, yoga is the union of body, mind, and spirit. Maybe you feel a little bit more in touch with each of those in this moment. Drop your arms to the side. Inhale, bring your hands to meet overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Slightly bow your head. A sign of reverence to yourself for your practice and your teacher. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. hope you enjoyed the class. If you took the class, please leave a comment, and I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.